welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 Looney Tunes shorts, and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for Doggone South, and with me today is someone who actually is from the South, well, of America. I'm more southern than he is, but anyway, that's another thing. My good friend Kamden Spies. Say hi.
Hi, you're from the Down Under. It's a different thing.
Yeah, I guess so. So it's Doggone South, released on the 26th of August 1950. It had a Blue Ribbon reissue sometime in 1959. It's the 597th in the series, and it's directed by Chuck Jones. You can find this on the Looney Tunes Golden Collection Volume 6 DVD set, and on the Looney Tunes Platinum Collection Volume 3 Blu-ray set, and I'll have links below to that set.
You all can be my little old master. Agreed, sir?
And given copyright on YouTube, I can't show you the full cartoon here, and you can try looking for all you want. It ain't going to be here. So, just to give you a brief synopsis, so Charlie Dog is kicked off a train and ends up in Platte Falls, where he tries to convince a Southern colonel to adopt him, but since the colonel already has a dog named Belvedere, Charlie tries to get rid of the other dog. And it's a very funny cartoon indeed, which we'll talk about in just a few moments. I mean, the only real trivia is the fact that this is the first Charlie Dog short without Porky Pig. Up until this point, Charlie Dog was in a few shorts with Porky Pig, which was essentially just a remake of the same idea of Charlie Dog trying to have Porky Pig as his master. Here, he's trying to have the Southern Colonel as his master, so it's kind of the same idea, but at least we get something different, so, you know. And I was trying to look up Platte Falls to see if that was a real place, but then I realized, wait a minute, Charlie Dog lands on his rear end, so that's called a pratfall. Ah, I get it. Pratfall, get it? Yeah, haha, right? So, Kamden, I gotta ask you this. Boston, Alabama.
Boston? Why, you Yankee owl? South Boston.
That's a real place, isn't it?
I'm in Birmingham, Alabama right now at school at UAB. When researching, there's a town called Brilliant, Alabama, and there was a town called Boston, Alabama, but the towns were so closely associated. According to Wikipedia, there is no way to attempt to basically separate their history or social history, so 1957 was when it was combined and there was no more Boston, Alabama. This clearly shows the idea of an American audience. In some ways, you could even say white American audience because those were the people who made it, which if you want a social commentary on this, check out Christopher Lehman's cartoon research post. He's a great author. Very good, very scholarly. Now, one of the things about this is that it is basically a whole reference to the Civil War. This guy did the study, and there's a lot more people who think that the Civil War didn't end than you might think it did. In the Civil War between North and Slavs to end to, I'm going to be blunt here, protect or end slavery. It was about slavery. But that's basically what this is about to people who are not from the United States.
Exactly. And we did discuss before we recorded about how you were saying, how does me as an Aussie watch a cartoon like this, whether I know the references or not? I first saw this cartoon actually on Cartoon Network when I was younger, so this in the 90s. And yeah, the Civil War stuff, I barely knew anything about it, and yet what makes this cartoon so funny and so good is that you don't need to know that. All you need to know is that there's a crazy guy who's obsessed with things Southern for whatever reason, because again, you didn't know about Civil War, and he doesn't like things from the North. So Charlie Dog is trying to annoy the Colonel by having Belvedere, the dog, be from the North, you know, try to take him away and so on. So it works on two levels. You'll find it funny knowing the Civil War, and you can find it funny without knowing the Civil War. And that's what makes it so great.
I can see the argument that Chris Lehman says about the African-American undertones of this cartoon. I don't know if I agree or disagree. I kind of a little bit of both. Either way, this might be the most unracist cartoon ever to mention Civil War references ever. There's not a single sighting of a Confederate flag in this cartoon, as far as from what I saw. Yeah. All that there is the Confederate uniform, which barely have any recognition either. There's no mention of slavery. There's no Bugs Bunny in blackface.
Yep.
Saying as in Southern Fried Rabbit, which would potentially use this whole idea again.
And it doesn't have cotton pickers, it doesn't have Bugs Bunny dancing to Camp Down races and that kind of stuff. So, you know.
Right. Yeah, exactly. The one thing is obviously the Dixie song. Obviously that has some stories to it.
I will say that the song Way Down South,
I said Way Down South,
that's an original song. It's obviously influenced by a lot of the Southern songs like Dixie and that, but it's an original piece as far as I'm aware. But I do want to point out as well, just how old is this Colonel? Because you mentioned before, yes, there are people that still think the Civil War never actually ended, right? But it is implied here that this guy actually was part of the war originally, and around the time this cartoon was made, the last few people who remembered the war, be it soldiers or onlookers or whatever, were dying off. It wasn't far from it. So yeah, how old is this Colonel?
Yeah.
He'd be around 100 or so, I reckon. But I like some of the terms. I was looking up some of the terms here, and like carpetbagger, he mentions.
On my plantation, you carpetbagger.
It's apparently a slang term for a northerner that came to the South during the American Reconstruction period after the Civil War, who were seeking financial gain and that sort of stuff. I'm thinking, wow, that's a pretty deep cut.
There are some Southern undertones like this in Mark Twain books, right? And I think Maltese was too, but I know Jones was a Twain fan, like Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer, early America kind of thing.
It was actually a reused gag that was from Orphan and Orphan. So you got the scene in Orphan and Orphan where Charlie knocks on the door and he's holding a pig and a chicken, which is pretty funny that Porky, who is a pig, is also a pig farmer as well, apparently, but we'll put that aside. He goes on the door, how about some ham and eggs? And here he does the southern version, which is, would you like some sour belly and corn pone? If I said it correctly, I probably didn't. And sure enough, it's real food. And I take it you, have you eaten it? Do you even know what it is?
No, I don't even know what it is. The only Southern words I use is, again, not a Southern accent, but I do use some Southern slang, and that is the words y'all, particularly the words y'all and the words ain't. Ain't has kind of drifted into outside the Southern words, but the word y'all, I use it everywhere.
Do you also yell out like Charlie Dog does so when he's injured? He yells,
Chitlins forever, y'all.
Out to Chitlins forever. Is that something you also say in your day-to-day life?
No.
No.
No. I might at the end of this commentary, though. Let's see.
Well, we'll see how we go. And speaking of that scene, by the way, with Chitlins Forever, that's probably my favorite animated moment about the acting of Charlie being injured, as a fallen soldier. And of course, the Colonel's like, you poor soldier, I'll take you in. That's probably my favorite moment here. With a runner-up being, of course, whenever you see Belvedere running. I just love the idea that he's on his two front legs and the back legs are pretty much useless. That's just funny.
The Yankees reference.
Mm-hmm.
Would you have gotten a reference like that in the New York Yankees?
Maybe barely. But, I mean, we do say, Yanks. I mean, not...
Yeah, I was just wondering, because I was like, because of the baseball team, I was wondering if that kind of stuff drifts or that kind of reference you would get later.
Yeah, it was something I got later. I mean, of course, there's the Simpsons reference, something wrong, yank, that kind of... that's the only time I knew about that. But again, as I said before, this cartoon works on the two levels. Whether you know the Civil War or not, it's funny. It still works. And speaking of Belvedere...
Belvedere might be the most southern dainty of a dog name I've ever heard for a bulldog.
And even has a beautiful summer home style doghouse, and Belvedere, basically that's what it means. It's like a summer house and all that. But what do you think of the twist at the end, though?
Oh yeah,
it caps off nicely, and see, it's an ending that works and I enjoy. Haha, right?
Yes.
Compared to what I was saying in What's Up Dog. But anyway, that's another thing entirely. So Mel Blanc are praised often on this channel for many valid reasons. But I like here, so he's got Charlie Dog, of course, he's got a northern accent. And
I make friends easy. Hello, boys.
He's got the Colonel, the southern accent. I absolutely get a kick out of Charlie Dog, a northerner, doing a southern accent. But Mel Blanc is so brilliant.
Are you from the South? Well, shut my fat old mouth and stuff me with chitlins. I'm from the South, too.
You can still hear the northern accent through the southern accent. He gets that really fine balance. It's absolutely incredible.
One more thing I want to talk about. That whole little Charlie Dog being able to change his voice.
Yep.
So, you know how in Superman comics, particularly in the earlier ones, the Golden Age Superman is my favorite Superman, okay? He would just randomly come up with this power you never heard of before. Every once in a while, you're like, can he do that? One of them was like the voice changing thing, right? Because they use that in the Golden Age Superman a bit, especially in the strip. And then they like randomly brought it back, and I'm like, can he do that? That's this kind of thing with Charlie Dog. I'm like, how can he just like randomly throw his voice in some random person's mouth? But I'm like, okay, cool.
Well, at least it's quite funny, and it kind of works for the gag and seeing the Colonel get knocked out. Exactly.
But Charlie Dog is just so stupid that you believe it. He's just such a weird animal that you just believe it.
So this one gets an 8.5 out of 10 for me. I love it. I think it's hilarious, and everything works on it. And as I said, whether you know the Civil War references or even the Southern references or not, it works either way. So 8.5. What would you rate this one?
I would say a 9.
Yeah, it's a solid cartoon. Very funny. Worth watching. That'll do it for this one. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. And until next time, take care.
Oh, Belvedere, come here, boy. Good times there, and I forgot to look away down south of the Dixie.